and the renewal of all things on earth, where all the evildoers, okay, those that were caught inadvertently with their pants down just for going along to get along, pleading no contest, which is essentially a guilty plea, just by their passive behavior, their indifference, their complacency toward the suffering of others, the unnecessary suffering of others, then they are going to that same place where these really wicked people live. All these hypocrites and liars, murderers, cheaters, liars, thieves, thugs, criminals. That's what they are. That's what Satan is. He's a criminal. You can't get away with this stuff. Injustice must rule. The good guy has to win. And that's exactly what's happening now. So they're enraged. And so this whole thing now, in talking about current events, over Ukraine, just the day before yesterday, was it, where this plane with 298 passengers was shot down. And this is, if there was ever an incendiary, provocative move, this is it. And it makes no sense that a Ukrainian or a Russian, that represented either of those major blocs would dare to do something like this, because they know what it would do. If they were found out, they'd get their ass kicked, okay? So this is very likely a frame-up by who? It's that same element. The birds of a feather flock together. These guys want to create misery, chaos, suffering. But if they do instigate, induce, provoke World War III, then we can be sure this is exactly like they're following a script out of the Bible. Like the Battle of Armageddon, like the big final push. And let me tell you right now, it doesn't bode well from what I understand in the Bible for America. And actually Russia gets a hold on us somehow, and it might be just that they just knocked the crap out of Washington or something like that, and they say, hey, the United States military doesn't want this thing. They know it's a big setup. Everybody's awake. The military is waking up. A lot of them are believers and Christians. Some of these are the very elect, like Jesus talked about. You would deceive even the very elect if that were possible. That's how crafty these evildoers are. That's how diabolical and sinister and clandestine and cunning that they are. That they're occultists. So they hide from the truth. They work in the darkness and lies. And some of this stuff is so dark that I don't have any concept. If you look at these black projects, for example, the whole black ops thing, where these people aren't accountable to Congress, Senate, President, nobody, the courts, nothing, because they just classify what they do as top secret. That's it, And so for the cause of national security, they don't release information that they have. So we're all deceived to some degree through omission, through not knowing what's really going on behind the scenes with the very top evil dudes, okay? Whether they're aliens or whatever, because that's what's coming out now is that, this Snowden thing that they're working with. Come on, that's the bombshell, folks. If that's what's been going on for some time, and that may well be, what Bob Lazar talked about, that there's some kind of exchange taking place of technology. So, hey, listen, all we got to know is we got one industrial complex after another. Yes, like Eisenhower, he coined the term, the military-industrial complex. But you got the crime industrial complex and the poverty industrial complex, okay? You got the cancer and disease industrial complex. You've got the insurance industrial complex. What else? Oh, you've got the debt industrial complex. Have I missed an industrial complex? Probably. But you understand that these industries are sustained by the problem, okay? So if the problem went away, their job security goes away. Their relevance goes away. It's that simple. So we've got to understand that fundamentally, we're just swimming in a stew of evil. And the only way to get out of this thing is to understand how we're being controlled, how this happened over this long period of time. These people have honed their skill at this. And at some point they just said, we don't even care what they think anymore. We're in their face. We're going for broke. That's exactly what they're going for broke. That's what they're doing. They're all in. That's it. The Battle of Armageddon. We don't care. We don't care that 90% of the American people were opposed to the banking takeover of '08. We don't care. John McCain was for it. Obama was for it. So what choice did we really have? So the American people, are told they live in a democracy, and that's what they get. When they don't even have a viable choice. I mean, if they vote for McCain, he's for the banking bailout. If they vote for Obama, he's for the banking bailout. So on the really big critical issue that affects the welfare of our people, the nation, these people are stealing the wealth of our nation by legitimizing, validating this totally illegitimate debt. This debt that was imposed on us, knowing they were going to blow the pipes out of the economy, knowing full well that was going to be the effect, and they were the cause. Yes, they were the direct link to this cause, just the money printers. It was things like Clinton allowing the Glass-Steagall Act to expire at the end of his term, which I think was probably because he was compromised, and in order to avoid blackmail, we know how much he loved, being blackmailed. He was impeached, of course, over the Monica Lewinsky scandal. But of course, he didn't like, you could see him turning beet red when under examination. Oh, I did not have sex with that woman. When he's just like, I am a freaking fat liar, And he's like, yeah, could Clinton be compromised? Let's think back. Whitewater scandal. Gee, that just seemed to go away, didn't it? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about that could compromise him. That could cause him to do just a horrific thing, just a traitorous, thing to the American people. What he did, he sold the wealth of our nation. And what is the wealth of our nation? A nation is comprised of what? Its citizenry. So he stole the wealth of the people of this nation. Okay, to what generation? When now you've got this entire gargantuan industry, the debt industrial complex, that has an interest in seeing America, which is the people of America, staying in debt in perpetuity and just increasing that debt. And they can't increase it much because, we're at such a point where the currency, they're going to have a revolution that they're going to get thrown out of power. That's what they want to avoid, you see. They love to start wars because it's good for, control. They print more money, they put nations in debt through warfare. It's good for Wall Street. So it keeps their whole charade in order, is to have, conflict. But only if it doesn't affect the kingpins, them, the grand puppeteers, the money printers, okay? That's who, those that have the copyright to the money. I want their names and phone numbers, and I want to have a little talk with them, little come to Jesus, you know what I mean? Because this is the root of all the evil. It's coming from them. I'm not condemning them, that's God's job. I don't have the wisdom to decide, who's given themselves over to evil and who hasn't. So we need this higher power to step in with all its, indisputable wisdom, whose name is completely vindicated throughout the universe, that is only good on our side, not some of our side, all of our side. We've got to embrace that spirit ourselves and say, whose side am I on? Do I get it? Do I understand how inextricably my welfare is entangled in the welfare of my fellow human being? Do I really care about his happiness, his freedom, her freedom, like I care about my own? Am I willing that every other human being on the face of this earth have the same things I want? Do you love your fellow man? Sometimes I look at people and I think, I love people. I just do. I just think, imagine a planet without people, having all the things that you could have, everything you want that's out there. But there was nobody to share with. Nobody just to converse with. It'd be a miserable place. Nobody to be friends with, to talk things over with. We really, we should value each other and lift each other up and understand that we're what it's all about. We're what's most important. Not the money, not the gold and silver and platinum and automobiles and houses. All this stuff is like a dream in the sense that it's temporary. But our essence is permanent. It's eternal. It lasts forever. We're a part of a cosmic tapestry, and it's not for a little while. Okay, the promise is clear that there is a lot more to your existence than your physical body. Okay, and we all can understand that if we try just a little bit, just a little bit. All you have to do is understand all those things you wouldn't do for any amount of money, even if you could get away with them. All those things you wouldn't do. Like you probably couldn't be hired to kill somebody. Most people couldn't. That's your conscience. That's because you value your integrity, your conscience, your heart, your mind, your spirit, your soul. And you say, that's not who I am. And who I am is not a body. Who I am is those things, those invisible elements, those characteristics that you get to keep forever. So you want to cherish them and take care of them, you know? And if you take care of your car good, or your house, or your wife, or your husband, or your children, just think how much more you want to take care of that. That's your connection to the Almighty Creator that doles out the happiness, that wants nothing more than all of us to be happy, for us to embrace that and go forth and fight against the misery and go to the root cause of the misery and expose these people and lift your fellow man. Let them know that they are precious treasure to God. Above all else in this world, we're what it's all about. We're beloved. We're priceless. We're indisposable. That God would trade all the material elements in this world, all the gold and silver and all of it in an instant, without thinking, for the soul of humanity. Just for a friend, a true, good, and loyal friend that will go out and work as a harvester of the souls of men and try to win other souls and try to say, you know what? Invest in real things. And what are real things? Real things are things that are not temporal. They cannot be taken from you. It doesn't matter. You could be killed. Okay, your body can be killed and destroyed. But you know what? You kept your essence. You kept your essence intact. And you're going to get rewarded for it. Here's where you get to go. You get to go and ushered into a world that's like the world you have imagined in your heart. Like Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within us, in your mind, in your spirit. That world that you really crave, where it's not just about you, it's about the people around you, knowing that they're all free, that everything is free, that you're not born beholden to anybody. You're not born with a cost of living. You're born free, understanding that this is all your gift, that your God gave this to you, that you were born unspeakably wealthy, free, not beholden, just free. You have been given. And so of course you're not going to charge your fellow man. And our work could be so easy. Could you imagine humanity serving one another? The bounce in our steps and joy in our heart and the song on our lips, because that's exactly how it would be. I mean, we could be so much more productive even today. Okay, for example, a car factory, they lay people off. Housing industry, they lay people off. Whatever industry. Is it because people don't want to go to work? Is it because they're unwilling to, that they lay them off? No. It's because they're not selling their product, And under supply and demand, what they need to do is lower their prices until they start selling them. You get how this works? And people keep going to work. So you talk about job creation, I think, well, how ridiculous is that? Why not just lower the work week? Why don't we shoot for 100% employment, full employment? Now, why does the mainstream media talk about this? That this is where, how else do we solve our problems? How do we change this massive, this horrific, horrendous disparity between haves and have-nots? How do we turn it around? Without checks and balances, accountability, without holding these top people accountable. Saying, look, you businesses, you don't like having to pay minimum wage. You don't like having to pay, $15 from $10. You don't like, and then the next, 5 years later, you got to pay $20. Well, don't blame the labor for needing a cost of living adjustment. We all know what a COLA is. It's reasonable. How else do you maintain a standard of living? Okay? Blame the market manipulators, the price fixers squarely. So you don't like it, you blame them. But no, do you see how screwed up they've got all of us? Somehow they've got the vast majority of people somehow convinced that high housing costs are good. And that's it in a nutshell. I mean, if they could convince people that an essential human need is good, if it's high priced, expensive, then God help us all. I mean, this is ridiculous how this has happened. But this is the situation we have, price fixing. So people do without, not because there's shortages, not because they're lazy and unwilling to work, but because it's planned. It's artificial scarcity. And it's done by these same group, these same top grand puppeteers, these illegitimate overlords, these money printers, and their minions.